Hello and welcome from Sydney, Australia. Today I'm going to be making a video to describe some of the steps that I personally have done to reduce the amount of advertising, unwanted notifications, and useless feeds that reduce my productivity on my phone, waste my time, and cause me to spend more money than I need to on things that I do not really need. And it just makes the experience of using a phone much more enjoyable, much more lighter, and less distracting in general. There's a lot of things that may apply to iPhones as well, but I'll be focusing mainly on an Android point of view, and I'll try to make this quite simple so that everyone, even without a technical or thorough knowledge of how Android work, might be able to use these lessons as well. So to demonstrate, I have my phone, which I usually use for video recording, the Motorola Edge 30 Ultra. Very beautiful phone. And I will use it to demonstrate some of the techniques that I have used. Okay, so to start off with, I'll just talk about some very simple things that are not necessarily specific to any apps or any services I might use. And those includes just more intelligent usage of apps such as social media. There's lots of advertising, social media, sponsored posts and things like that on social media, such as Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit. And a lot of times, if we can reduce the usage of social media apps, that is just better overall for our efficient use of our time, and to reduce unwanted spending. So I would encourage reduced usage of social media. Often we will use Reddit to find information that is very difficult to find on a search engine. So I'll give Reddit a bit of a pass, but in other social media, it's often best to reduce our limitation or limit our use of those medias. For example, I just use Instagram to find nearby restaurants, and I have very specific purposes for using Facebook, such as the marketplace or associating with groups. Now, if we want to continue to use social media apps, we should use precautions such as reducing the number of notifications that we see on these apps. So for example, a lot of apps will suggest videos for you to watch, suggest purchases to make, such as an Audible, for example, or any other subscription-based service, or YouTube, for example, trying to get you to subscribe to premium. So I would reduce the number of notifications where possible, and you can do that in the specific settings app of each, the notification portion of the settings part of the app. You would access that by going to usually the information part and then notifications, and then they will tell you which kinds of notifications are allowed, and you can disable the category as associated. And then often apps will have additional settings within the app that you can reduce. So that's that. Some certain apps such as Reddit, you might be able to use third-party clients where there's reduced amounts of advertising, or otherwise I would advocate for the use of the web-based interface for some social networks such as Facebook, so you don't get notified on your phone constantly. Okay, so that's apps and services. Now, the second thing is managing your email. So often we will use our email to subscribe to things, to make an account, to make purchases, and we end up with a lot of emails with advertising in them. I personally would suggest using a separate email address for these purposes. But in the case that we've already used our primary email address for this purpose, I would go and unsubscribe from a lot of these services. And if we have some difficulty, then we would try to block any of these services from contacting us through the email address. Having a separate email address is great, but an alternative to that is using a temporary email address, for example, on TempMail or Gorilla Mail, which are services you can search on Google and find. And these services allow us to sign up with an disposable email address, and that they have no future way of contacting us. So that's fantastic. Okay. So after we've sorted out the basic things such as social media services and subscription-based apps and emails, we can start changing the way that we use our phones by disabling the Google feed. Now, I will just re-enable it for the purposes of this video, but a lot of phones will come with a feed on the side here that shows sometimes useful news sort of information, but often will have sponsored posts. And if I scroll down for long enough, we shall see a sponsored post. And often these will show things about your interests anyway, which tend to be marketing purposes, things that will waste your time, suggesting you go onto YouTube and things like that, look at articles that promote items, and I think that can often waste your time. So the easiest way to deal with this is simply to go to your app, your home app, and disable this setting. And on this Motorola phone, this is how you do it. So now when I do the swipe, there is no more feed, and some launchers will not allow you to disable this. So I would suggest, if you really do not like the Google feed, you should use a different home launcher. And the same with the Google Chrome browser. You will often find, oopsies, what did I do? You will often find a feed here, the Discover feed, which is kind of the same Google feed. So I would suggest just going to the cogwheel there and turning that off, and also to just delete, or not delete, but not use Google Chrome as a browser in general. All right, so that's one more thing that we've reduced. The other thing is that the YouTube app. I'm quite sure that the vast majority of people do use YouTube, and it's good to have YouTube around. YouTube provides us with a lot of useful information, but also a lot of advertising and a lot of suggestions for things that we might personally not want. So I would suggest downloading another app to use YouTube, or using YouTube in the browser as well. But we can get to that in a second. The next thing is to use an ad blocker, which is probably a step above what most people would do. And you can download some open source DNS-based ad blocking apps, which I think is the easiest way for most people to get into ad blockers. Alternatives include using DNS, which is a simple web address we can put into the phone, but sometimes it doesn't work reliably and it's hard to titrate compared to using an app. And other alternatives include routing your phone and using a different kind of ad blocker. And alternatively, we could use a hardware-based solution such as a Pi-hole. But in this video, we'll just focus mainly on the app-based ones. And the one I would like to demonstrate is using Rethink DNS, which is an example of an app that we can use to block ads. Its intended purpose isn't for ad blocking, but it is a feature that we can implement. So the easiest way to get Rethink DNS is through the F-Droid App Store. So to get F-Droid, we just search in Google, F-Droid, like that. And then we go to F-Droid and we download it like that. I've already downloaded it once, but yeah, we just download it. And once it's downloaded, we just open it up and install it. sorry, to allow unknown installations from the browser. So here we go. And it's going to ask you to install, or in my case, update, because I've already installed it. So that's fine. So let's pretend that we've now installed it. So we will open the F-Droid App Store. And you may be greeted to a home page like this. Just pull down to update all the repositories and give it some time to do so. And then you would search, and Rethink is the one that I'm thinking of. Click it and then install it. So all the apps on the F-Droid App Store, they're open source, and they will tell you if there are any features that are not privacy oriented. Yep. So then you would open the app. I've already opened it and configured it to my liking. But essentially, there are a number of, whoopsies. So you would go to, easiest way was probably to enable this and then search for some filters. So if you want to search up specific block lists, you would go to the advanced, but the easiest way I think would be just to go to, I think there was a recommended one. So disable all of these and just select recommended, like that, and that would begin to allow you to block things. So I've already set it up the way that I like, but yeah, once you enable that, you go back to the main menu, and then you start the protection, and then it will usually put up some warning about having a VPN. So you cannot use this with a VPN server, unfortunately. There are other apps with paid, associated paid VPN services such as AdGuard, but that is not an open source service, unfortunately. But yeah, my internet connection's a bit poor here, so I won't pursue with that. But that's how you would use that. And in some circumstances, oh god, you would want to exclude certain apps or bypass the firewall. So I've got a few apps here that are need to, that would be blocked by my ad blocking service, but I do want them to bypass this filter that I've applied for specific apps, which is why I like this app-based solution more than a web-based solution there. All right. So now that I've protected, I just want to see if in the Google feed we still have the sponsored posts. So let's refresh to Google feed and see what we get there. Oh god. So, oh, it's going to be a bit hard to tell. Oh yeah. Yeah, so all these sponsored ads are now blank, which is good. That's actually quite useful. And if you go onto a browser such as Google Chrome and you search for an ad block test, like that one, then you can see that most of the ads will be blocked. Let's just have a quick look. Testing. So my internet connection down here is very, very poor. And I'm using a hotspot actually. So That's actually terrible. Oh, see, this is because this is excluded. But if I do not exclude it, I need to stop and restart it. That's a little quirk of the app. Let's wait for it. Yep, so that's that. Now 99, what's not blocked? Error trackers. But anyways, you can play around with these filters here, and then in the advanced settings you can actually choose the specific filters that you would like to be enabled, and then we can see that this offers a lot more ad blocking protection than if we had just used the Google Chrome browser itself, for example. And then you can see that in the Google feed that there's reduced images of the ad blocking websites here. And I assume when I click on it, it might not even allow me to see that website. Yeah, so it's even blocked. Yeah, so again, if I go to the other ad here, I click on it, it's going to be blocked from being shown. So that's very useful. And then if you ever run into a circumstance where you want to use it, you would stop it. But I think the main pitfall would be things like Android Auto, for example, or when you're trying to sign up to different websites. So that's why I've used Google Chrome as part of my excluded apps, because I actually want to use it sometimes when I do some payments and things like that. So to do that, you would just go to Chrome, allowed. So Chrome, and then disable it, exclude it. Okay, and then to just implement those changes, just stop and then start again. All right. Anyways, the third thing I would like to show you is using another YouTube app. So instead of using YouTube, we can use NewPipe, which we can find on the F-Droid store. Must be it. So NewPipe is another front-end service to YouTube, and you can use it to browse YouTube, and you can turn off things like the feed. It's got no ads and things like that. So we'll wait for it to install. Do I want to install it? I do. And there we go. And so that's a generic feed. So we can subscribe in inverted commas, but won't subscribe. It's just locally in the app. But let's say if you don't like seeing a YouTube feed, you can go into the settings. And in the settings, you can go to content and content of the main page. So what you do to get rid of the default kiosk, which is the main feed, you just swipe it. And let's say, I don't know. So it's going to be my main page now. And then I can search up different things. So let's say I wanted to subscribe to Lewis Rossman. So this is blocked because of the ad blocker. Lewis Rossman. There you go. And then I wanted to subscribe to him. Subscribe. So then on my homepage, I would see just Lewis Rossman stuff, which is great. So if you want to subscribe to a lot of educational material and so on, you can have that all there and without seeing a main feed. And then when I want to use YouTube for entertainment, I'm just going to go back to my standard YouTube app. And there you go. So I do find NewPipe very useful. Oopsies, that's the wrong one. NewPipe. very useful for that particular purpose. I think this video has gone on for quite long, but I will talk about one more thing, is using an alternative browser. So you can use Bromite or a Firefox related variant, and I won't explain how to install that in this particular video, but you can install another browser like Mole, which is a Firefox based browser, which you can go through and find here. Mole. There you go. Oh, I need to update it. But anyways, the cool thing with Mole is you can use a number of add-ons. It's a little bit of a complicated process of getting them, but you can install add-ons including uBlock Origin, and that allows you to block ads, and you can do a number of any other add-ons as well, which is very useful for you when you want to browse the web with these add-ons, given that Google Chrome does not allow you to install add-ons, and even some other Chromium-based privacy-oriented browsers such as Bromite will not allow you to install add-ons. But there you go. Those are various different ways of reducing advertising on your mobile device, reducing notifications and annoyances, allowing you to have more efficient use of your time.